Welcome to this Blender 2.76 video. This is the version before the most current one, which is 7.7, and it's basically the same thing. This video is designed to teach you about the views and the windows that we have here, like the UI basically. FYI for the future, just so you know, every single thing is accessible through a global search that you can find pressing the spacebar. So you can type anything and you can find, if you don't know where anything is and you remember the name of it, just type it there. For example, like objects and add a cube or whatever. I'm not even sure where it is. Like here it is. Add anything, like add lamp. I can just do lamp, and here we have an add lamp. Great. Your mouse, before we get into anything, there are three buttons: the right, the left, and the middle click. When you're on a 3D view, the middle click, if you scroll it, you will zoom. If you click and drag, you will rotate the entire scene. Left click puts your cursor around. The cursor is this little crosshaired with a little red and white circle that you see. And what's the other one? So right click is selecting your objects. Okay, now that we have this done, let's talk about the windows. Windows are all of these segments that you can see that have a little diagonal hashed diagonal bars at the top right corner. So everything that has a little diagonal bar at the corner, the little tab here, is a window, and you can make that window show you different things. They all act the same except for this right side window. That's for your options and a bunch of cool stuff we're going to talk about later. Those windows are different. Why do I say they're different? Because each window tells you what type of window it is by looking at the left bottom corner of it. This particular window is a 3D view. I can change it to a Python console. I can change it to the dope sheet, which is used for animation. Basically, if you know Python, by the way, you can do everything I'm showing you here by code. You can scale and add points and do everything you want with the console. Anyways, 3D view. All right. Now these windows are scalable. You can do anything you want with them, and you can duplicate them. So in order to duplicate a window, I click on the top left tab or right tab, and I scroll over. I have two different views of the same scene. I'm basically looking at it from different angles. It helps sometimes if you want to work on the side while making sure that the full object is still okay. There's many reasons why to do this. If you want to, you can also keep on breaking them down, and you can specialize them. I want this one to be my Python console, I want this one to be dope sheet, and this one to be an NLA editor. Right, you can break it up the way you want, and you can combine them by clicking on the tab and moving over, or tab and moving up, or tab to the left and moving to the right. Everything is combined again. Alright, there are also presets. So this one is the default preset, but if you're working on animation, Unity has given you an animation editing preset. So you have your dope sheet here, the NLA editor here, your 3D view, your 3D view with wireframe. Most of the time right now we're just going to be working with a default. Okay, so there's this big window in the center which is a 3D view. This is a little window that shows you, actually I lied, these windows can be changed too. This shows you all of the elements that are on the scene right now. So there's a camera, a cube, and a lamp. Like I said before, you can select the objects by right-clicking on them, or you can access them this way. And there's also a drop down to see more of their attributes. like this cube also has a material on it. We'll talk about materials later. Okay, so now we can select different objects, which is great. I can select objects, and I can select them from here. All is good and dandy. This 3D view has two panels that are helpful, that are accessible with T and N. T is this left panel, T, and N is this right panel, N. These panels will show you locations and scales of your objects. So, for example, our cube here is located at 0, 0, 0. It's the intersection of the x, y, z coordinate, and you can see its center is this yellow thing, and it's at the center. If I were to move on the y, you can see that the y is moving up. It's incrementing and decrementing. I can also set specific location, like 5, z, 10. It's probably going to be off my screen. Let's see, -2. See, it's under our plane here, and I can center it back to 0. And this is how you move things around with the N panel. Same thing, this light can be pushed down, up, or whatever. Scale also, for things that allow scale. I don't think light has a scale. It has a different scaling model. Scale also, you can scale on the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. And dimensions, you can give it specific dimensions for the x and y and z. But let's undo all of that and get back to our cube, which is of scale 1. So like I said, you can move them this way, but you can also move them with the mouse. All of these actions, location, rotation, and scale, can be done with the mouse using these little gizmos down here. The arrow is what you use to move by clicking on the vector up and down. There we go. This is the rotation gizmo on different axes, which could have been done here too, like I showed you before. Just give it a value, not 90 because it's a square, we're not going to know, 30. There we go. And scale, same thing. It's good to note that if you are using these guys, there is a global and local. We're just going to talk about local and global scaling, and especially rotation. So what do I mean by local and global? Let's put this cube back at the 0, 0, 0. If I were to rotate this cube, let's say I put a skewer through this x-axis, through it, like a shish kebab, and I want to rotate it around it, right? Click on the rotation and I would rotate around the x, right? Fair and simple. Now let's say I want to rotate around the z-axis. Right. Now let's say that I want to stick a skewer this way and I want to rotate the object around the skewer. Around the global, yeah, this will be around the global, right? But if my skewer were on this side, let's say I have this cube and I kind of like a marshmallow, and I stick a stick this way, and it's already, it's already rotated, and I want to rotate around like a marshmallow around the skewer. Then I would use the local. This way you can see this has changed. My local x is now the x that's related to the cube. So is the y and the z. So this is the big difference between local and global rotation. Let's get back to how it was. Other thing, what else do you need to know on this window? Oh yes, well, this button shows you different views. If you had a texture on it, you could see it with a texture. Like, we'll show you textures later. You can stick pictures and stuff on this, and like if you want to make a die, you can stick like a 1 dot, 2 dots on it. You can do anything you want. Those are textures, we'll talk about them later. Wireframe is kind of good to know if you have multiple cubes and you want to see what's behind it. Plus, if you have like a giant scene with a bunch of objects and your computer is slow and it's really hard to move around, if you put it in wireframe mode, of course there's less rendering to be done, so it'll move faster. And solid is what we want. So you'll only be playing with solid, wireframe, and render when we get to it, and render and material when we get to it. These are pivot points. and we shall talk about that later. And basically that's all you need to know for this tutorial. This was just scaling, moving, and knowing about this main 3D window and the right panel and left panel T. Next video we will talk about editing the object and the difference between edit mode and object mode. Alright, thank you for watching. See you in the next video.